What do you feel like there's like you would like to do in the next few years? What's something that you have on your mind?
Well, first off, not important at a certain age not to think of the advancement of age, because that limits your options. But you still have to, it's in the back of your mind always, and one never really gets used to the notion of neverness, although that's what life is all about. What life is about, one's getting used to the limitations of one's life. And so I like all those bucket lists, 100 places you have to visit before you die. And I'm like, because after you die, you can't? Why do I have to do it before I die? What? Because after you die, you'll be busy with other things, presumably. Lots of places to visit there also, actually.
Mhm.
We just don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Just the same, I think that what I'm doing right now and what I'm writing is a very important component of it, a very important part of it, because I feel like as I mentioned earlier, that I'm in a position that is kind of unusual. I'm one of the survivors of that country that no longer exists and that world that no longer exists. But by dint of circumstances and just I've been put in a position of of being able to talk about it because I essentially lived in two worlds and for better or worse, was able to express myself in English. So I can talk about it from a position of estrangement in a foreign language, but about that land that to me still seems infinitely familiar. And if I were to go back to Russia, lots of people would recognize that that's still Soviet Union because nothing ever changes there, especially after you live big cities. It's just like it's there like it was 100 years ago. But for people, who were not in that frame of reference, who were not in that timeline, and that's all very strange and ancient history, But for us, when we were there, it was the most natural, you know, thing. You were born there, and then you just lived there, and you. One of the interesting kind of things about Russian mentality, I would say, is that people there kind of perceive even the temporary situation in their lives as permanent. So, we all thought that the Soviet Union would exist forever, forever. Even when I was in an underground literary club, and all of us, of course, were profoundly anti-Soviet elements, and we often wondered what it would be like without the communists and without the communist regime and so forth. But we never really believed that it would end before our time was up, because and so maybe in part because people in Russia, and we can see it now, but it's historically in Russia, people have always perceived the people who rule them, the powers, as something completely beyond their control. Not a single ruler of Russia, going back centuries, not in the 20th century, not in the 21st century, was ever replaced by democratic procedure, something like elections. Never. It never once happened. And Russians generally perceive powers that be, especially someone at the very top, be it Tsar or being general secretary of the Communist Party, or be it President Putin, who is essential leader of a major mafia group. Uh, um, People perceive it as a given. Like, you live in Montreal, so it will be kind of cold in winter and it'll be snowing, So what are you going to do about it? There's nothing you can do about it. Just layer, just dress warmly and have proper footwear, And when it rains, well, you may want to consider having an umbrella, And when it's hot, you may want to take off that fur hat, So that's how it is.
Political climate is just something you weather.
It's just the same as our attitude towards weather in Montreal. It's there.